Can someone confirm if I'm audible?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
We'll start in a moment. So we'll just start the YouTube live. We are good to go.
Okay. Who would be keeping the time?
Suresh will be keeping the time from our club.
Okay, fine. So it is 10 plus 5.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
So how many teams are there?
7 teams, sir.
7 teams. Okay,
Yes.
fine.
So give us just a minute. We are just starting the YouTube live and then we'll begin.
First team is the change maker, or is the sequence different than the one?
No, it's the same. It's the same
Bro,
sequence.
actually there is this thing called we are unable to what is it called? This thing, man. Check the YouTube live. So where is YouTube live link? Yeah. So send me the link. Yeah. Right. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. The Operations and Supply Chain Club of IIM Raipur, OPEP, in association with ISCEA, International Supply Chain Education Alliance, feels proud in presenting to you all the grand finale of Ops-Cogitate, the operations-based case study as a part of Karmaanta' 2022. First, I would like to congratulate all the teams who have made it this far. Now, let us have a small glimpse of ISCEA with a short video. Video, please.
The most profitable companies in the world have learned to use their supply chains to keep goods and services flowing into the marketplace. But supply chain processes are only as good as the people who keep them running. Supply chain employment opportunities are constantly being created, and ISCEA certified professionals are getting the best paid jobs. If you wish to become a sound supply chain professional and gain real-world experience and knowledge, then ISCEA is your one-stop source for supply chain education, certification, and recognition. ISCEA is the International Supply Chain Education Alliance. We were the first organization certifying supply chain professionals around the globe, and we remain the worldwide authoritative resource for supply chain career validation, with thousands of certificate holders commanding top-tier salaries. Our certification programs are aligned with best practices and industry-proven standards. They bring together academic research advances and innovative industry trends, validating that you have the knowledge used by top companies to remain competitive in an ever-changing business environment. For your company, that translates into significant cost reductions, faster revenue growth, and a collaborative teamwork environment. For your career, it means exceeding everyone's expectations and taking control of your future. So, what are you waiting for? Stand out from the crowd and take your career to the next level with an ISCEA internationally recognized supply chain certification.
I would now like to invite Nirmal to introduce our honorable judges for the day.
Yeah. Thank you, Jerisha. Good afternoon, everyone. It is my privilege to introduce our esteemed judges. Our first guest for the day is Ms. Swarnamurthy. Ms. Swarnamurthy is currently working as Senior Manager Distribution Planning at HUL. Swarna ma'am is also the global mentor for ISCEA's Certified Demand Driven Planning course. Ma'am did her post graduation in Industrial Engineering from NITI. Ma'am has over 9 years of experience in the domain of supply chain management. She has won numerous awards throughout her corporate journey, some of which include Demand Planning Professional of the Year, Best Innovative Use of Performance Measurement, Best Use of Data Analytics in Demand Planning and Forecasting, Best Demand Planning and Forecasting Practices. We heartily welcome you, ma'am. I'm sure we have a lot to learn from your in depth domain knowledge. Our second judge for the day is Professor Pariksha Charan. Professor Pariksha Charan is a faculty in Operations Management area at IIM Raipur. Sir has been teaching at IIM Raipur for the last 9 years. Sir has earned his PhD from Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi. Sir has vast experience in research and academics. Sir has published papers in journals like International Journal for Operations and Production Management, Business Strategy and the Environment, Journal of Knowledge Management, Journal of Purchasing and Supply Chain Management, International Journal of Logistics Management, Managementation, just to name a few. Sir has presented his research work in many international and national conferences. Sir has taught many courses at postgraduate and doctorate levels. Sir has been awarded the Best Paper Award at 16th Annual International Conference of the Society of Operations Management and Best Professor in Operations Management at 20th Devang Mehta Business School Award function. In 2017, he was conferred with Bharat Vikas Award for Excellence in Supply Chain Management and Operation Strategy. Sir's research interests include operations strategy, sustainable operations, and supply chain management. The third judge of the day is Professor Mohit Goswami. Professor Mohit Goswami is faculty in the operations management area of IIM Raipur. Sir has earned his PhD from the Department of Industrial and Systems Engineering, Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur. Sir has been teaching at IIM Raipur for over 5 years. Prior to joining academia, Sir is associated with global Fortune 500 manufacturers, including Caterpillar Inc., based in Illinois, USA, Tata Motors Limited, based in Pune and Jamshedpur, and Tata Hitachi. He has worked in various engineering and technology management roles. At IIM Raipur, Sir teaches various courses both at postgraduate and doctoral levels. Sir has published his research papers in various reputed journals like International Journal of Quality and Reliability Management, International Journal of Retail and Distribution Management, the Total Quality Management Journal, Journal of Manufacturing Technology Management, just to name a few. Sir's research interests include supply chain management, service research, decision sciences, design and manufacturing, quality management. You can take it forward from here, Jerusha. Thank you.
Thank you, Nirmal. The road to success and greatness is always paved with consistent hard work. Outwork your competitors, be authentic, and above all else, chase your greatness. With that being said, I wish the teams all the very best. Before moving on with the presentations, I would like to set the rules for the teams. Each team will be given exactly 10 minutes for the presentation. The teams will be signaled at the end of the 8th minute. The presentations will be followed by a Q&A session from the panel, which will be of 5 minutes. So now let us begin with the first team for the day, Team Changemakers from IIM Indore. The other teams can drop off from the meet. You will be informed about when to join the meet again for your presentations. Team Changemakers, please raise your hands when you are ready with your presentations.
The most profitable companies in the world have learned to use their supply chains to keep goods and services flowing into the marketplace. But supply chain processes are only as good as the people who keep them running. Supply chain employment opportunities are constantly being created, and ISCEA certified professionals are getting the best paid jobs. If you wish to become a sound supply chain professional and gain real-world experience and knowledge, then ISCEA is your one-stop source for supply chain education, certification, and recognition. ISCEA is the International Supply Chain Education Alliance. We were the first organization certifying supply chain professionals around the globe, and we remain the worldwide authoritative resource for supply chain career validation, with thousands of certificate holders commanding top-tier salaries. Our certification programs are aligned with best practices and industry-proven standards. They bring together academic research advances and innovative industry trends, validating that you have the knowledge used by top companies to remain competitive in an ever-changing business environment. For your company, that translates into significant cost reductions, faster revenue growth, and a collaborative teamwork environment. For your career, it means exceeding everyone's expectations and taking control of your future. So, what are you waiting for? Stand out from the crowd and take your career to the next level with an ISCEA internationally recognized supply chain certification.
Yes, teams, you can share your PPT.
Please let me know once it's visible. Is it visible and am I audible?
Yeah, it's visible and you're clearly audible.
Should I start?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Good afternoon to all. Today, we team Changemakers are presenting our solution on the case study, Unmasking the Art of Masking. The COVID pandemic situation has drastically changed human lives, including the global adoption of masks and sanitizers. Rarely have we seen this rapidness in the adoption rate and the uses of any product. To gauge the product category of masks, we have created a 2x2 matrix from consumers and industry's perspectives. From the customer's perspective, we have classified them as hyped and not hyped products. Here, hyped refers to the rapid adoption of masks and not hyped refers to the gradual adoption rate. From the fashion industry's perspective, the short and long-term possibilities of masks as a sustainable product category have been considered. From this classification, we have concluded that masks are lying in the hyped and short-term decision category with respect to fashion industry. The reasons are currently the adoption rate of masks is at a higher level, but there would be a gradual decrement in mask usage which is observed as the severity of pandemic is getting reduced. When we see from the healthcare industry perspective, masks will remain in use to get protection from foreign object particles. Hence, we have categorized masks as long-term decisions and not high product categories for healthcare industry. Masks have been widely adapted from the recent past. So we wanted to see where the future of masks will lie as a product category. Focusing on the current supply chain web for masks, we have seen the division is starting from the sterilization part of the medical industry and fashion industry. The probable bottlenecks could be procurement of raw materials, short supply of specific inputs, disruptions in the distribution channels, rise of bullwhip effect as there is huge uncertainty in the demand, and external factors like regulatory barriers. At present, mask is lying in the market development state of the ANSERF matrix, and with time, the product category will be commoditized. From the product performance versus time graph, mask is lying in the first half where consumer want more technology and better performance. Hence, we have proposed few ideas for innovations like sensors to detect germs and viruses, ergonomic masks, self-disinfectant masks, IoT-enabled masks, recyclable, breathable, antibacterial with nanoporous material masks. Very soon, masks will move upward in the graph and technological innovation will not play a major role and it will become a commodity product. Here, we have tried to analyze the possible demand variations for masks as a product category in the near future. Following are the assumptions for our preliminary analysis. Firstly, people wear masks irrespective of whether they are infected or not. Second, masks are replaced at least once a week. Third, infants and old age people have been excluded from the considered user base. Based on the analysis, we plotted the demand and the forecasted demand from methods like moving average, simple exponential smoothing, Holt's model, and winter model. Among these four methods, the winter model is the best suitable for catering to seasonality in the demand for masks, as we have observed different requirements of masks in different seasons. Introduction of just-in-time in the distribution and centralization and decentralization of ordering and delivery procedures, effective communication of information about demand. Through these methods, the bullwhip effect can be reduced. There are other aspects for assessing the supplier risks to reduce them, and the following aspects need to be focused on to make SCM efficient and effective. Firstly, failure or delay risk related to lead time, brand reputation risk, competitive advantage risk, price and cost risk, and quality risk. Any pandemic has time and again opened avenues for growth, market development, and new product development. COVID-19 was not an exception. It disrupted supply chains, needs for solutions, market shortages, and supporting government policies created a perfect amalgamation for new product categories. Many companies introduced new product categories like GM making ventilators and the new concept of mobile hotels of Cabana. Talking about other categories that could have emerged, we have divided the products into 3 categories and found new avenues in them. Firstly, tangible products. This can include consumables like alternative food lines or items like self-disinfecting tissues and wipes. Second, digital products. This is one of the biggest categories in which new products could have come up, and they did in this pandemic. Some of our ideas include portable thermometers, not the bulky ones, which can be used to increase supply chain visibility. Online offerings like games, Ludos, Reels, innovative electronics like cheaper Li-Fi and AR/VR products. Thirdly, hybrid products. They would be a mixture of tangible and digital products and would be an ecosystem which includes supply chain solutions like smart products, including smartwatches, and the all-in-one product categories. It is difficult to just predict about any specific product that would have superseded masks and sanitizers at the global level. But we have tried to look from different consumers' perspective and market requirements, and we have come up with portable thermometers, germ detectors that could supersede them. Some of the possible reasons could be health consciousness, need of the hour, market needs, and consumer needs. Finally, we look into the aspects how government initiatives and social togetherness can help make any product sustainable in the long run. Government plays a key role in ensuring the same, as it has the capacity and wherewithal to make capital-intensive investments to develop public goods and services that support the overall market development. There can be many initiatives that the government can undertake to achieve the same, as policy level, GST rate rationalization, reducing custom barriers, avoiding inverted duty structure, entering into free trade agreements to expand the market penetration globally. Second, industry academia government collaborations, where we can utilize the expertise of each of the stakeholders through a PPP initiative. Third, government support in developing the supply chain. Some recent initiatives by the Government of India in this field are PM Gati Shakti, National Infrastructure Pipeline, Sagarmala, Bharatmala, Logistics Performance Index, etc. Fourth, ease of doing business can be increased through SEC parks. Support to R&D initiatives and protecting the IP laws can also help in innovations. And ensuring a healthy competition in the market will also help in new product development. Along with this, social togetherness is also essential to make a product successful in the following manner. Firstly, by creating the need and acceptability of any product coupled with social and religious conformance and overcoming social biases and norms. And social influencers also play an important role in the adoption of any product. Hence, technical feasibility, product viability, human desirability, and ethical confirmation together helps making any product human-centric. We have also presented a case study where Mahindra & Mahindra, along with Scanray Technologies, could enter the ventilator market due to government policies and support. To conclude, in the future, we feel that India will not just be leading vaccine diplomacy, but will also be leading on mask diplomacy. Genuine brands with the right technology and certifications will rise above the rest. They will have higher consumer trust based on their testing certifications, while others will remain mere copycats. Further, the majority of sales, at least for the next year or two, will be through online portals and digital marketing. With increased customer awareness, extensive adoption of protective masks to avert respiratory illnesses due to pollution will also increase. It will also help in developing the supply chain. Here's to a safe and masked future. Thank you.
Okay, so is it now Q&A?
Yes, sir, you can go ahead.
Okay, well, fine. Let me start then. Team Changemaker. Well, you have used the Gartner Hypercycle Can you give a justification of why you have used it? This is primarily about sanitizers and masks. So why you have used it?
Yes, sir. So in the very second question, they have it was mentioned regarding the product is hyped or not, and is the decision is a short-term decision or long-term decision from the fashion industry, like they wear fashionable masks. So for that only, like we thought of with the current data available on Google, how this product is hyped or not, that we thought to gauge that. So for that purpose, we use the Gartner's hype cycle. So here also we have defined that what exactly we mean the hype. So the y-axis we have chosen from the consumer's perspective, and the x-axis we have chosen from the industry perspective, and we come up with the two solution that one will be a sustainable healthcare industry where the mask will remain forever, and for the fashion industry, as there is a high level of volatility in that, so it is kind of a short term and the hype product.
Well, generally the Gartner cycle is for graphical representation of the life cycle stages a technology goes through. So I don't know how you are mapping it with the sanitizers and masks per se. Fine. So regarding the next aspect, most of the thing, it seems as if the categorization is done mainly in terms of what would be the offerings from an organization. But when you talk about customer, please remember, real customer needs might be different, number one. And why would somebody wear a mask per se? Let us say there is a lifespan for even we can say a pandemic also. So after the pandemic, why would somebody keep on wearing a mask? Number one, just because it is a fashion design, or even the sanitizers uses might have a dip. So what's your call? What's your take on that?
So, sir, to answer this question, we also agree with the fact that right now there is a need of the hour in terms of why masks are being used, and it is a government compulsion and COVID is there, and it will decline. But here, so the main problems from a customer's perspective is the ergonomics. So people are unable to breathe, there is sweat, and the ears also pain for longer duration. So we have tried to think in those terms. Now, Indians have also become health conscious, and everybody knows it. Delhi, already due to air pollution, people have been using masks. So it is not a commodity which just came out due to the pandemic. It has been there, but the awareness has increased, and that is why we also use the Gartner cycle. So what happened is that the mask, like this graph which is here, it talks about how mask was there originally also, but due to COVID, there is a bell curve which came. This is the hype and the need which came. So I believe that from a consumer's perspective, the usage will decline, but if we include new product developments, the usage will continue because people are aware of the need. And in countries like Japan, people have been using face masks for a longer time. So this is where we thought about the every week is also a problem. It's a cost sector. So we thought about having self-disinfecting masks. So this is how we went about thinking from the customer's angle.
I'm done.
And also, sir, if I may add to that answer that Manaswini just gave, we also suggested aspects like integrated apparel. So masks could be integrated within other sort of apparels, like let's say a scarf or a hat or a cap or something else, so that the customers don't need to buy masks separately and they can buy them as part of their other wearing apparels. So that could also be one of the use cases in the future.
Yeah. Would you like to go next, or can I ask a question?
Is lying, and where can it be the future? So currently the mask that we have also talked, that the mask is lying in the very first half, which is tending towards the center where the customers still required more technology and better performance in that, because as it is a requirement, and as Manaswini and Shivashish already mentioned that the mask will be there if people will become more health conscious in that category. And when the mask become commoditized and it crosses that midpoint, then the technology will not play much or a significant role, because that so that future the current need will be the innovation in the innovation and in the future, if the product will become commoditized, then this innovation might not play a
Okay, so do you guys think that do we need to have that kind of a overkill where we are talking about the high technology and more performance, and do you think it is a bit of a overkill here possibly in this situation?
So currently, we are facing just a COVID-19 situation. There might be the other situations where like hazardous viruses will come. So we don't know what exactly the future will be. So for that purpose, as we are proposing that the antibacterial, waterproof, nanoporous, where the viruses cannot just go from that
Okay.
layer.
All
That's
right, all right. Got your point. All right, so that's it from my side.
So can I add a small point, if that is fine?
Yeah.
So basically, right now in Delhi also, we have air purifiers in our houses. So if we get a cheaper option where masks are like they do not let pollution enter, then people will use it. So it will also save cost. So there needs to be innovation for this product to remain in the market, is what we feel.
Okay. Right. I will have two questions to the team Changemaker. First question here is that mask as a product, the way I have understood, without anything with respect to marketing or any other investment there, you're talking about technology, nothing was really used. But mask really came as a product and we are talking about it as a case study, right? So my question to you is, why did you not come up with any answer saying mask as a product will not even exist, as in that was not even discussed here? And second is, if at all you're convinced that mask as a product is going to continue, what is the most nearest product that you could think of that will continue in the long run without any intervention, as in like a habit, because you really used a word called habit? What is it product which will come as a habit? So I have two parts to it in this question.
So ma'am, answering the first, we have seen masks have been there since a long time. It has been used in the healthcare industry for a long time, and the surgical masks have been there. And right now, due to the pandemic, as you mentioned, people have used it and they might not use it in the future. We believe that this pandemic has actually changed how people think about their lifestyles and health. So people, even the rural India now knows about these things and they are aware. And as you mentioned, it does not require marketing and there was no technology needed. But we feel that if it has to continue, like we feel that this won't go away, because there are places where people will prefer wearing masks. So for example, North India during winters, during the smog, initially like 2-3 years ago, people would not be wearing masks, but now I believe that we believe that even after the pandemic ends, people would be continuing the use of masks if the innovations are there and if it is molded as per the consumer needs. So here the consumer needs is very important, because government restrictions will go away when the pandemic goes away. So this is how we thought about the whole process.
Okay. And what about the second thing? What is going to become the habit?
So we believe that health and consciousness is going to be a habit in the near future, and it will continue for a longer time. And things like right now in Zomato app also, people like there is a notification that the driver which is coming to deliver your food has this kind of temperature. So these things will become a habit, like getting to know about how things are safe and secure, and health consciousness will become a habit. So this is why some products which cater to these needs will be there to stay for what we think and what we have talked to consumers and analyzed.
Okay. Last thing, if you're saying that health consciousness will become that habit, would it survive without any technological support, like how mask is doing right now?
So for that, I would like to take the part.
Yeah.
So as like even the diseases are also evolving more what it was in the previous generations. So maybe technology will play an important role, like for example, germ detector and all, where people can easily find the areas which are affected and where they need to put like a sanitizer, or where
Okay,
they need
okay.
to be more
I'll
cautious.
stop you there, which means this will require a lot of investment and it will never really be a category or a product like a mask. Is that correct? So hence
Yeah,
there is no product that you could really bring as close to the mask. Is my understanding right?
Correct,
mm,
ma'am.
Yeah.
correct.
All right. Yeah, that's all from mine. Thank you so much.
Thank you, team, for the wonderful presentation. You can stop sharing now. Yeah. The next team to present is Optimizers from SEM HRD Pune. Is the team here? Can you raise your hands if you are here? Team Optimizers. You can start with your presentation.
Yeah, just a minute. I'll be sharing my screen.
Yeah,
Just give me
sure,
1 second.
sure.
Can the earlier team leave?
Yes, you can be.
Thank you.
Yeah, is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
Can we start, team?
Yeah, you can go.
Okay. Good afternoon, judges. I'm Monica Pridishni from Team Optimizer with my fellow mates Hardik and Atin from SCM HRD are presenting before you our analysis towards unmasking the art of masking. Our strategy involves market analysis, pestle analysis, synergy of masks owing to high sales and future leverage scope, opportunity market calculation based on the mentioned case assumptions, and finally our take on the potential industries which can supersede masks and sanitizers. Coming up to the market analysis, we conducted a primary survey. Hardik, can you go to the next slide? Coming up to the market analysis, we conducted a primary survey for understanding the behavior of people towards mask usage post pandemic. Based on the insight received from 79 responses, we found that 16% of people are willing to wear the mask post pandemic. Only 10% of the people are willing to support government if mask is made mandatory. However, if a mask is stated as a fashion accessory or as a fashion asset, the percentage is of about 39%. This research backed up the global secondary mask market analysis, where there is a projected reduction of $21.5 billion to $2.7 billion, which is an approximated reduction of 34% CAGR 5 years down the lane. Reason for decline being COVID-19 peak, which led to the surge in mass market, along with regular scrapping of masks due to greater usage. Volatility in the raw material prices is expected to restrict the market growth, and healthcare industries are progressing gradually towards other health segments which have become prima facie now. There are certain factors that have been affecting the which includes general public awareness, comfort, and government regulations. A 120% incremental stock rise due to the expansion of pharma companies into mass segment, owing to the increase in usage for the frontline workers. There have been a promotional mask market where the reusability of reusable face masks and the industrial and institutional end use segments have witnessed a promising growth in the near future. But considering the consumer perception, which is negative towards the mask market as they see it as just a resource. Coming up next to mask market in India. Next slide, please. We have done the pestle analysis of Indian mask market, where we saw government intervention making mask mandatory before moving out from house. Adherence to such norms had a greater occurrence probability, thereby impacting a positive growth in the mask market. Simultaneously, there were various campaigns of different kinds of masks and their use resemblance. Due to increase in sales, it led to a greater increment in profit, along with emergence of a new campaign making cloth masks at home and several innovations like Maitri Mask Abhiyan and Cradle. Social unity to fight against pandemic, which was seen through development of a mindset to fight COVID-19, which was proved by various gestures like ringing bells from balconies, etc. There was a technological advancement to meet the demand and supply gap, and since not wearing masks were punishable as per law and several legal foundations were in a place. Also, as a part of innovation and to cater environmental needs, various reusable masks were made which was biodegradable in nature. Even after being backed up by all the political, social, economical, technical, legal, and environmental factors, masks have not stood up to be sustainable down the lane. However, we have seen instances of how government has come up with different policies like Make in India and usage of natural ingredients, which have resulted in huge chances of growth. For example, Patanjali, whose benefit has catered to every class of society due to government backing and natural Ayurvedic products. Looking at social togetherness, cultural and demographic trends, there can be a shift in consumer behavior towards the product which is ought to be successful, as people will buy it habitually. For example, Mama Earth, whose USP was organic products and as a mission that could save the earth. This being a part of a global cause gave rise to social togetherness, and the product was supported by large consumer base through word of mouth marketing and peer-to-peer influence, which made it a great success. Masks in fashion industry. There were a lot of factors contributing towards high sale of masks. The major factors include government regulations, social togetherness, fear of COVID-19, and above all, the affordability which could be accessed by all classes of the society. However, considering this factors, mass market was leveraged by designers to make it go with the latest trends, which was aided and accepted by various influencers, which have emerged to be a successful market in the short run. However, considering the reason of high sales of masks being a hype, why it is a hype as of now? Because mask for common mask is not a symbol of flex, it's a symbol of health. Embedding it into fashion mask doesn't provide the authenticity of N95. Secondly, there is, if we compare it with the fashionable, then it's not the first line of functional things, because the mask can become second line down the lane, which is in line with the sunglasses as of now. The concept of mask is not for a profit aiding thing, but it's sold as a freebie along with other apparels. Moreover, with the increase in vaccination and restrictions shrink, people will think of going back to breathing free without masks, specifically in the regions where population is less and pollution is not a concern. However, there are some markets through which we can leverage the masks market. One thing which is a very important parameter, that is the pandemic's progression and the new regulations which is to be given by government. Second, perception change in the consumer's mindset, along with making masks mandatory or leveraging it in pollution prone areas, industrial zones, and by the workers. Designer masks can be made as a trend, showing the benefits of masks in a habit, such as to avoid dust and tanning, etc. So, rise in mask market can be considered as a hype due to COVID-19, but it can be surely leveraged by innovation and extension. Coming up to the in-case solution, which was provided as an assumption to consider the total population of India, we have assumed it to be 130 crores, out of which we have considered an assumption that the population of children up 0 to 5 years would not be wearing masks. So our net target population would be 90% people, through whom we have bifurcated in terms of the income groups into poor, low, middle, upper middle, and higher class. So first assumption which we have considered is assuming the usage of mask, that is the frequency in which the mask should be changed. For example, we have considered for the poor and low sector, the mask frequency would be once in a week, whereas for the high sector people, they would be changing their mask or using it for every day in frequency per daily. Simultaneously, we have assumed the price of the mask considering the income group. For the poor and low, it is considered to be ₹2, whereas for the high class society, it is considered as ₹100. As per our assumptions, we have calculated the total opportunity market of masks, which is resulting to 51,000 crore. If we compare this market to other sectors, mask market will be equivalent to existing market of snack, beverage and immunity, which is approximately 50,000 crore each and will supersede various industries such as immunity booster, disinfectant and skin care, which currently stand below 25,000 crores. The future of the mask market can be described in the product life cycle shown in the graph, where face mask stands at its maturity stage and will start declining once COVID-19's impact waves off. This can be avoided through product extension and can be brought through innovation and habit development. Next slide, please. So coming up to industries who show potential and it's comparable to mask and sanitizer, we have seen three emerging segments of industries. One, immunity vitamins, second, smart wearables, and third, cleaning solutions. Comparing to the baseline of masks with respect to year 2026, we see there is a tremendous growth for immunity vitamins up to 22%, for smart wearables up to 21%, and for cleaning solution up to 18%. And the reason behind it is not just COVID-19. The awareness which has been raised among people, wide variety of thoughts, healthy habits, various monitoring parameters about which people are currently aware, along with the healthy habitat development and the avoidance towards chronic disease has led to the impact in which these segments are growing tremendously. We have identified organic supplement multivitamin, which has emerged as successful from pandemic as shown in the graph. The CAGR of this segment is expected to be tripled and is expected to witness unprecedented growth in future. So what is the basic reason why there is such a tremendous growth? One is the health and wellness quotient, which has become a lucrative sector and people are becoming aware day by day. Second, there are new trends of plant protein and vegan food habits which have become quite popular in the cities. These have been majorly due to the change in mindset from reactive to proactive measures towards a healthy well-being and growth in per capita income. Hence, our recommendation is that multivitamin supplements have the potential to supersede masks and sanitizers. That's all from our side and we are open to questions. Thank you.
Thank you, team. Now the judges can with the Q&A.
Okay. Team optimizer, thank you. There are not many assumptions I have seen the teams have made, even your team has made. One is that this is a norm as such, that mask wearing will continue, number one. Number two, you are predicting, you can say you are going for the pestle for the mask market as such. Can you tell me the bigger industry in which the mask lies? Because you don't do for a product pestle. Are you getting it? You do this pestle for a particular industry and that macro environment you want to capture. But you don't capture the pestle for a product per se. So number one, do you think that this norm will continue? Because in my opinion, there are consumers per se who are quite opposed to wearing masks you can say in different parts of the world. And it's becoming very difficult. Not only that, off late, if you see in India, even in the airports, people don't wear masks, even though there might be a number of announcements. So why the assumption as such that the mask would be a norm? So yeah, please go ahead. Two questions. That's all.
Sir, as we have shown, we are not considering that this will be a norm. First thing, we have shown this that mask market will decline down the lane. And as you said that people are opposing it, we have also found out the same consumer perspective. Second thing, considering that why we have done the pestle analysis, this was done to show that the political backing, government backing and social togetherness are always combined with the technology, legal and economic aspects which make a product successful. So that were the reasons to give the pestle analysis for the party.
And that's all from my side. Because your survey, even I have a lot of questions on the survey. 79 people, because probably a survey does not capture. This is like a reactionary approach you are trying to capture. But and this is what most of the time the organizations go wrong. What they think is the survey depicts right, but consumer mind is not survey. There is no average consumer I have at least come across. It might be reported in marketing research and likewise, but in reality there is no, you can say XYZ 2.5x market. This is the consumer map it like that. It really does not arise in the real world. So the marketeers might say whatever they want, or the market research might say. So the survey is, yeah, it might have given you something 79 when you are talking about India. Yeah, please go ahead. How powerful is it to capture the reality?
So if we look at even the news, you must have seen that only 10 to 12% of the people are ready to wear the mask right now. Only 40% of the people have the perception that mask can save them. So I think that survey told us approximately about this.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Pariksha sir, so let me.
I'm done. Thank you.
Okay. So let me talk. Let me specifically in context of the survey that you have used. What are some of the things that you have followed in context of this survey, so that the fidelity associated with the survey and what the survey is supposed to measure does not get compromised? What are some of the things that you have followed in the survey?
Hardik, can you come to the first slide, second slide? So as of right now, we have not done the analysis for that part of thing, but we have just considered that
so
data.
In your survey there were 3 questions per se, or
so we had other questions as well: the age of the people, the profession of the people, and 5 or 6 questions. Yeah.
Okay, fine. That's it from me.
So we just wanted to analyze how the people are reacting now when the COVID impact is gradually decreasing. Will they be willing to wear the mask or not? And how is the psychology of common, because the section through which we had floated, it included from the age group of around 15 to 45 to 50. So who are mostly out or who would be going out? So we wanted to capture their mindset. That how
All right,
would
we understand this one. Okay, understand. All right. That's it from my side.
All right. Thank you, Team Optimizers, for this presentation. I would actually want to pick up from what Pariksha and Mohit asked you as a question. Let us, for simplicity's sake, understand that you as a team thought this survey is the right measure to start the presentations approach, saying, yes, we want to validate a fact. Tell me, why did you not use this survey as an approach to identify the product which can be likelihood of the mask? Or did you do it and you have some answers to it?
Ma'am, the 3
So ma'am, it is like for the survey part we considered on the mark, but to understand what all products or what all sectors have superseded or have to be comparable to the mask and sanitizer industry, we have shown the sectors and the products also.
I understand, but let's stay with this thing that you relied on some people to validate your factors in it. So why is it that the same survey was not sent to them? And this is where I understand the question also came when Parikshit was asking that it's like top-down approach which has been given, that what industry would want to do. There is no bottom-up approach, and though you tried doing it in mask, why did you not think of doing it in this? And let's say you did not think of, what is your opinion now? Would you want to go ahead and do this?
Sure, ma'am. If given a chance, we would consider a survey in this. But yes, while doing a survey, we would add a factor with these 3 industries as others, which we did consider that would come up as more than 50%, because consumer perception among the people where we floated the survey might not give us the right example here.
And hence your hypothesis itself can be proven wrong, that you reached out only to the people who proved your hypothesis right?
ma'am, for the secondary, for the primary, maybe. Yes.
All right. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, team, for the presentation. You can stop sharing. The next team to present is Team Vikram from IIM Raipur. Judges, can we go on with the next team?
Please go ahead.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. Team Vikram, you can start sharing your screen.
Can my teammate confirm if the screen is visible?
Yes, it's visible.
Yes, it is visible. Please go ahead.
Okay. Start.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. We are the team Vikram from IIM Raipur. As we know, the emergence of COVID-19 related created an inevitable situation where the mask and sanitizers became a part of essentials. So, yeah, next slide. Yeah. We conducted a short study on the future of masks. As we are aware that increased restrictions and infection around the world caused a serious demand for masks. Though initially we had a high demand for respirators such as N95 masks, the manufacturing companies were unable to meet the sudden surge in the population using N95 and other related masks such as N99, N100, P55, etc. Other than these, disposable surgical masks were also in need. To meet the demand, fabric masks such as cloth masks were introduced. Masks reduce the spread of virus to around 17%. The usage of masks depends upon the future, where the count on the number of cases influences the public to buy more masks. In the beginning, creation of a suitable vaccination required huge investment and distribution to various parts of the world, faced many supply chain difficulties, and there were outsourcing difficulties as well. Now, as the developed countries have increased the vaccination and dosage, there are limited restrictions which causes decrease in the demand for masks. In a finding, it is projected that there will be a huge decline in the demand from 2023 as the number of daily cases decrease. According to the Union Health Ministry, there is a decline of 74% in the mask usage, and many countries such as UK and Denmark have even removed the mandatory use of masks as well. Thus, we can see that in the future, the mask lies in the field of technology and fashion. Technology-driven masks such as cooling masks, masks with health sensors, which could be used to identify the vitals of the users were developed. And interestingly, we found sea-face masks, which could be used by frontline workers to convey their speech in an application in mobile phones to their patients. Moving to the next slide. Yeah. The next question is that do we think masks have been hyped as a product and adopted as a short-term decision by different industries like fashion? We would say that rather than calling it as a hype product, cloth masks and fashion masks were more of demand-driven. The huge cost factors involved in the manufacturing and related operational activities created a need for an alternate approach to meet the demand. This opportunity was rightly used by the apparel industries, which stocked up raw materials in their plant. They capitalized the ideal machineries by shifting their capacities to manufacturing of masks. The entry of
Yeah,
designer
Charan.
masks were a little hyped among youngsters, as there are around 81%
That is
of the
probably because
Gen Z population who are
yeah,
more
yeah, that is
inclined
probably
towards
because
online fashion and related
like I
activities,
mean my video
and
is off,
around
right?
37%
Is it looking like my
of
video is
fashion
off?
experts preferred masks which are used in a
Okay,
fashionable
so
way.
the thing is I've
And
kept my video
60%
on, but
of the
probably because
fashion
of the
executives started
because
investment
I'm
in
sharing the
fashion masks as
screen.
well. Apart from it, it created new avenues for the entry of small scale business and provide a platform
Okay,
for
okay,
social
okay,
workers
fine.
to contribute as well.
Okay,
A study
so
conducted by McKinsey revealed that the cloth masks were
yeah,
the
okay,
comfortable
fine.
and the most preferred among a majority of the sample population, regardless of the age.
Yeah, so actually I've
We conducted a
kept my
regression model,
camera,
and
so
from
I'll
that,
do
we
it
could
in
also
1 minute.
estimate that the usage of masks has
Yeah.
correlation with the number of active cases. In the future, the usage of masks as a fashion accessory could be witnessed rather than being a necessity. So, over to Anand.
Thank you, Arshin. So basically, when it comes to other in-demand product categories, we can't say that any category has actually superseded the demand of masks and sanitizers in terms of volume, as they were largely having a mandatory use case to it. However, there are certain product categories which demand rose and is likely to sustain beyond the decline of mask usage as well. Which are the first thing is the immunity products, where the demand of products like Chyawanprash, turmeric, and health mixes like millet porridge has actually increased drastically during the pandemic and is actually likely to sustain the near term as well. And the product like Siddha medicine was actually enforced by the state governments as well, especially in the South India, and that is also going to have an increase in incremental demand in the near term. And the other segment is the hygiene product segment in terms of hand washers and floor cleaners, so which is also expected to have an incremental demand in the near term. So apart from this, we do have some of the medical devices. B2B medical devices are somewhat prevalent, and the demand is actually stable in terms of ventilators and oxygen cylinders. But the important segment now is the B2C segment, where people have an increasing reliance towards self-medication, due to which their demand is likely to increase in the oxygen meters, nebulizers, and suction machines. Apart from this, we do have some non-health category products in the form of work from home products, which are the consumer electronics, software, and furnitures. As the organizations are tending towards a hybrid work culture, this category is also set to see an incremental demand. And next will be the packaged food and fruits and vegetables, whose demand increase is actually driven by partly an aversion towards meat consumption as well. And apart from products, we also do have some services which emerged in the pandemic, which is the fintech and aggregators. So in terms of teleconsultation and e-pharma business, we can see a lot of sales and investment has increased and has actually changed the behavior of consumers. And in order to answer the how part of it, we need to understand the supply chain strategies which revolves around this. Basically, during pandemic, we all know that typically the supply chain visibility got drastically reduced beyond your third and fourth level of your value chain. So in order to meet such an interest in demand for these product categories, the companies had to adopt an resilient supply chain strategy. So basically, from the supplier point of view, the challenge was relatively lesser because they just had to shift their capacity utilization from one product category to another. So the challenge was in the hands of distributors and retailers, where they had to come up with incremental warehousing capacity and increase their fleet size. So ultimately, they had to shift from the just-in-time strategy towards an inventory-oriented strategy. So going forward, the road ahead for this incremental demand will be driven by the consumer behavior, where we can see relatively four segments are there. One will be the hibernate and spend segment, which is the optimistic segment, which is set to drive all the demand in future largely. And next is the stable stockpile population segment, which is relatively pessimistic, and they are set to increase your demand for the immunity and hygiene products. And third is the cut deep segment. Cut deep segment basically your that is the most economically hit sector. So their buying power has drastically reduced, and it will be lesser for the near term as well. And lastly, you have the neutral segment, whose buying behavior has not changed before the pandemic, as well as it is not going to change after the pandemic as well. So, yeah. So coming to the role of government. So typically, when it comes to sustainable products, market creation is actually a tricky process from the sustainable end, from the suppliers end. So there is actually a good role played by the government in market creation for this. One strategy is the production-linked incentives and subsidies strategy, which is relatively, which is largely used in the renewables and EV business. Even recently, there is an outlay of around 90,500 crores as a production incentive for highly efficient solar modules. And the next is the mandates and request strategies, which is more of a government-driven word-of-mouth strategy, which is highly visible during the pandemic, where the demand was created for masks and sanitizers. And third strategy is the anti-dumping duty and customs charges. This is more of an indirect strategy where the country's domestic supply capabilities are improved to cater towards the incremental demand which is going to come in the future. And the fourth strategy is the collaborations for distribution and supply. So I would like to take an example, which was like 12, 13 years back. There was a product called D-Light, where it was about solar lamp supply. So government utilized their post office establishments as last mile delivery initiative. And another strategy is the goal setting strategy, which is more of a macro strategy. For example, the government has a target of around 450 gigawatt renewable capacity for 2030. So which will be indirectly driving your demand for renewable products. And another interesting strategy used by the government is a PSU mode for market creation. For example, there's a PSU called Energy Efficiency Services of India, where they started supplying the energy efficient products, first of its kind products, to the government organizations. So, which created the initial market for that, and it was taken up forward by private companies as well. So, I would like to end with the stating the advantages of social togetherness. As we all know, the pandemic created a sense of concern among public with virtual connectivity, and people are starting to rely more towards the sustainable business. So, due to which it is the basically a supply started leveraging on the word of mouth marketing through all the consumers, and the corporates have started aligning their CSR goals towards the sustainable development goals. So ultimately, we can see sustainability emerging out as a separate value proposition nowadays in terms of ESG investing, green supply chain, branding strategies, and we also have a lot of venture capital investments towards sustainable startups. Where I think many will be aware of this Shark Tank India, where many sharks are investing into the products like sustainable apparels and packaging. So, thank you.
Thank you, T. The judges can go on with the Q&A.
Team Vikram, you said that you have conducted some studies, and I saw that you have done some. So you have done, if I'm not wrong, you have done some survey. Am I right?
We actually took the data which was there in the market intelligence website, and we just conducted a small regression between the number of cases and the percentage of population using mask.
So you conducted a regression. Am I right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, but at some of the places, like, is it a regression? Because if you really see the personal use of face mask, where are you getting this data? Similarly, the buying behavior during COVID. So these are, I hope, not your data, or you have got it from somewhere, or is
no,
it?
all the data presented are actually from the intelligence websites only. We just conducted a regression alone on the data collected, which was also from the intelligence websites, not one.
Right. So then let me come to, you can say, the personal, the buying behavior during COVID. So can you tell me what is going to happen with the mask and sanitizer? This is during COVID. What after COVID?
Basically, for mask, the market size is going to drastically reduce, because the percentage of Gen Z population considering mask as a product of fashion is very less when compared to the use case of a health product. So once the pandemic eases out, the mask demand will drastically reduce, like 80-90%.
Yes, sir, I would like to add to that. So when we see that apart from health workers and other scientists or people who are having some breathing ailments, others will not be using masks apart from fashion industry and fashion experts or professionals who want to use mask as a fashion accessory. So there will be a very much decline in the usage of mask in the future. Coming to sanitizers, I think that it will be a part of the general consumption, but yeah, but it is not yet confirmed. But I just believe because we all became very comfortable using sanitizers everywhere. So even if we go to public places, we'll be using it constantly. So I think there'll be a little margin for that sanitizers when we compare with masks.
Okay, what do you find? What did you find in your regression analysis?
I'll just share.
You went for your regression analysis.
Yes, sir. So basically, this study was conducted on. I mean, this study was available for the US population. We just used it to find the correlation between the active cases and the percentage of population using mask. So basically, from the scatter plot itself, we get to see that the percentage of population using is kind of stable once your cases are higher. But once your cases started to reduce, as in future, if your pandemic eases out drastically, then the percentage of population using mask will drastically come down.
Fine. So then what is a product which is a similar kind of product to you can say it is increased during a particular time zone, and then it just fall down. What kind of product can you come out parallel to that?
Okay, like
You
you're saying,
suggested some of the products.
I think oxygen supply is also was an incremental demand only during the COVID time. After you're getting serious cases, the oxygen supply is also reduced. So that demand will also drastically ease out. So that is one category.
I'm done from the other co-panelist can pick up.
Okay, so so again going back to the regression, what Professor Pariksha had started with. So go to your regression. So first of all, how did you define what is a dependent variable, what is independent variable?
So we typically took independent variable as the cases which are coming up, and then the dependent variable will be the percentage of population using mask.
Fine. So in that case, based on the intercept and x variable that I'm seeing here, don't you think you ought to consider certain other independent variables as well? Or do you think this one independent variable itself explains this phenomena?
No, sir, we actually need a lot of other independent variables as well, but due to some data constraints, we couldn't collect the other variables. Typically, your demographics will be there, and
right. So that is what I'm trying to say, that there are a whole lot of other factors also. So if you do such kind of a regression, what is the point of such regression? Of course, it gives you certain result and certain coefficient and certain R square and this and that. But again, you know, I mean, how do you explain this entire phenomena if you have rather incomplete, first of all? And also have you sort of, does this explain correlation? Does this explain causation? So those kind of things you have done?
No, sir. Our objective was just to see how drastically the use of mask might reduce when the pandemic eases out.
And so in that case, you would have actually tremendous opportunity to come up with a very good regression model explaining other. And also the next point is it a linear regression, simple linear regression, or?
Yes, sir. It is simple linear regression.
Yeah, so you may want to revisit a couple of things here. I mean, think about whether we only this particular single instance of independent variable, does it suffice? Do we require anything else? Is it only the correlation causation type of study? And how do we decide it's going to be only a linear regression equation? So those are the type of things you can have a look again methodologically, and
yes,
if you want to refine this work further.
Yes,
so that's it from my side. I do not have any other further comment or question.
Sure, so we'll improvise on that.
Thank you, team Vikram, for the presentation. I have one query on the slide which you had shown with respect to the products, other in-demand product categories. And I'm specifically talking about the hygiene products there. Now, from your understanding of your regression or whatever analysis you have done, what did not go right in the hygiene products that you have mentioned? Both, I'm talking about hand washes and floor cleaners, but it went in favor of mask as a category.
The data collected was itself only about mask. We did not focus on understanding the demand for other hygiene products as a part of the regression model.
Okay, so let's keep regression out then. And otherwise, with the study, because you have really put hygiene products here, if you can tell me what was it that mask observed differently, because of which hand washes and floor cleaners did not, reach their peak demand during COVID. And after this, we don't really know whether they will reach or not. But what was different between mask and these hygiene products that these did not reach their peak during COVID itself?
Typically, I would say there is a substitute aspect to it when it comes to hygiene products. Basically, you have your sanitizers in place already. So your demand for hand washes may have like a balanced approach with your hand sanitizers, because hand sanitizers were more having a mandatory use case to it. So
but
maybe that is the reason.
Were also, no?
Yeah, there was an highly incremental demand was there for hand washers and cleaners as well. But when compared to your sanitizers, this is that the rate of increase is actually very less, because there is a substitute effect for it.
Don't you think there is anything to reflect upon the supply versus demand when we are talking about sanitizer, hand wash, and mask?
Basically, like when it comes to supply versus demand, the entire supply process was actually demand driven, where the company started like increasing their inventory capabilities to match their demand. So basically, when it comes to the like capacity utilization, they started shifting their like capacity from one category to other category. For example, say if you're in the hygiene segment, you can start producing your sanitizers, and you can ease out a little bit on your hand washes. Like,
Okay, so my query to you right now is, rather than demand, did supply play a role in making the product reach its peak, sanitizer or mask?
I feel it is a demand driven process, like because such an interest won't be able to, I mean, would have been possible with the use of supply alone. So it is a demand driven process because your consumer behavior has completely changed due to word of mouth and advices.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Thank you, team, for the wonderful presentation. The next team, are they here? So the next presentation will be by the three musketeers from IIM Raipur. Yes, team, you can go on with your presentation.
Sure.
Is that good, Isha?
Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. Shall we start?
Yes,
please go ahead. Please go ahead.
So, good afternoon, everyone. We are three musketeers from IIM Raipur. Myself, Sandeep, and my teammates Siddharth and Vignesh. First of all, let me thank OPEP and the jury for giving us the opportunity. And we'll go to the case now. Siddharth, next page, please. So the first question is the future of the mask as a product. The assumption given for the case is that in India, every individual, irrespective of affected or not, wear a mask and replace it at least once a week. So we have estimated the demand and we consider the population as 1.3 billion and we eliminated the children belonging to 0 to 6 years, which accounts for 15% of the population, and find the consumption as 61.44 billion per year. But the thing is that according to the 2020 data, the mask production was only 300 million. Actually, N95 mask was 300 million and the PPEs was 120 million. But the thing is that there existed, which in total 0.42 billion only were produced during that year. There is a demand supply gap exists, but everyone were wearing masks because there was a cloth mask and designer mask, the masks which are made in the home using cloths. So these things bridges the gap. But the thing is that according to the guidelines, every mask should have 3 layers, basically. The thing is that it should be made of cotton and middle layer as a polypropylene, which is a non-absorbent material, and the outer layer should be made of a polyester. So this is what the guideline for a mask according manufactured in the industry. So, but the thing is that the masks which are fabric are not up to the mark. And apart from that, we have data that the Indian surgical market is also developing and it will be growing at a rate of 10.3% CAGR from 20 to 27. So this shows that there is a huge potential market for the mask for the next 5 years. So we can safely conclude that the future of mask for at least next 5 years, it will be good. Next slide, please. And the second question is that whether master hype and the decision is short term for the industries like fashion. So we have conducted a fiscal analysis, and the thing is that when certain things are backed by a political party or some kind of organization, people will tend to follow it more. And in the economical aspect, the mass spikes is morely elastic and it falls within a certain range. Even though it was increased initially, but it stabilized later on. So the economical aspect also ruled out. In the social thing, as due to the pandemic, the the mask become an essential thing. It can be inevitable. The thing is that it's not up to an individual to whether to wear it or not, but it become a collective responsibility for the society. And there is also technological innovations made in the mask that such as incorporating Bluetooth devices and AI, and different industries are coming up with different ideas. And the legal aspect is that when regulations are made severe and people are penalized for their actions, people tend to have more masks. And the environmental aspect is that masks are reusable, but the thing is that most of the masks are not recyclable due to the presence of polypropylene layer. Next, let's see that. And with respect to marketing, we also analyze the product. So with the product mask, it's evident that mask has been positioned as a product due to the pandemic, and it will be used in all places, irrespective of nation, state. Everyone will be wearing the mask. And as discussed earlier, the prices will be elastic. And due to the COVID, the promotion is not much needed for the mask. It is already positioned as a personal protective equipment. The only thing is that people should be aware that if they wear mask, we can control the spread of the pandemic. Since the usage of mask is declining now. And the process is that there are various subsidies given by the government for the mask industries, and in order to bridge the gap, demand supply gap, which existed earlier. And the people, we have concluded that apart from children, everyone will be wearing masks. So it's irrespective of age. And the physical evidence, clearly evident that due to the pandemic, mask is become a product. So we can conclude that based on the PESIL analysis, and the long-term effects will be based on the environmental, technological, and legal aspects. So in the short term, we can say that mask is not hyped as a product, and the decision taken by industries to adopt this as a product is a good one. Over to Siddharth.
In order to control the spread of COVID, WHO has suggested to wash our hands with soap or sanitizer with the alcohol-based sanitizer, along with the use of masks to cover our faces. Masks and sanitizers saw the highest number of sales during the pandemic. Masks were used by everyone, but that is not the same case with the sanitizer. Sanitizers are not affordable by everyone, particularly with the lower middle class and the lower class society. During pandemic, sellers and the middlemen leveraged this opportunity and sold them at higher margin. Hand sanitizer do not eliminate everything, being said that they should have alcohol concentration between 60% to 95% to work efficiently. But this is not safe while used by kids. As per the data, US Poison Control Center received nearly 85,000 calls about the hand sanitizer exposure among the children from the year 2011 to 2015. Now, the alternative to the sanitizer, we have suggested the soaps, since soap combined with the running water is by far the best way to eliminate germs from our hands. That's because soap molecules themselves are very effective at destroying the surface of the membrane of some bacteria and viruses, including the novel coronavirus. Soap produces better results when hands are visibly dirty or greasy, unlike sanitizers. In the 60 highest risk countries, 2 out of 3 people, that is, approx 1 billion people in total, lack basic hand washing facilities with soap and water at their home, and around half of them are children. The reach of the soap to the people in the world can be increased by using innovations and increasing the awareness of hand washing among the public. Innovations such as SoaPen, the pen to hygienic hand washing, will bring the habit of hand washing among the children. SoaPen was basically a soap designed like a market tool for dispensing. It was a soap crayon for drawable soap aimed at promoting the habit of washing hands in a playful manner among the children age group between 3 to 6 years. And it can also be used by all the age groups. The objective was to create an impact on the small ones and help prevent the infection diseases from spreading by bringing a change in their habit, that is, develop the habit of hygienic hand washing. SoaPen is non-irritating, non-toxic, free from SLS, parables, EDTA, and many other byproducts. Companies like Unilever are striving to create hygienic practices through their various campaigns, such as one example is Unilever Sustainable Living Program. Well, soap as a product category has the potential and could have superseded the sanitizer. However, it cannot supersede the mask category due to the impact of mask in preventing the transmission and the awareness of mask among the people. To promote the hygienic practices, the awareness of using soap should be spread across the globe. Over to you, Vignesh.
I'll be explaining the role of government policies and social togetherness. Government policies that support the products can be classified into 2 broad categories: improving the industry commons and sales subsidies. In improving the industry commons, government can fund R&D, advanced process development, engineering skills, manufacturing competence related to specific technology. For example, if we take the case of German, US, Japanese government, a long-funded development of LED technology. In the second category, government can provide financial incentives to incentivize green products by providing them tax rebates, tax credits, rebates, tax exemptions. These financial incentives are based on the sales of green products Hence, we address them as a government green sales subsidies. Social togetherness can also play a role in making the product sustainable. The public can be encouraged to use a three-hour approach of reduce, recycle, and reuse. A government also urges people to use filters again and again to prevent and promote environmental education among people to develop to transform the lifestyle to sustainable living. Using appropriate technology which is eco-friendly and culturally sustainable, India has also adopted indigenous technologies that are cost-effective as well as sustainable. To conclude, government policies help product to be successful and sustainable through funding the development and providing sales subsidies to the product. Adding on, the better design of the product also plays a major role in the success of the product. Next slide. So we have also added the annexes in the end. So that's from our end. Thanks for the opportunity given, and we are open to the questions.
Thank you, team. The judges can go ahead with the Q&A.
Okay. Well, thank you, team Three Musketeers. Well, some queries per se. What I saw is that your assumption about the mask is very optimistic, that it will move like that. But in my understanding, once the COVID decline, it would be, you can say, the reverse of what you say. What's your take, number one? Number two, if I'm not wrong, you have assumed the mask as in the fashion industry and for a short term. So what happens there in the long term and how your pastel will change? So two things. Please go ahead.
Nice. May I take the question? So, sir, regarding the first assumption made, it was explicitly mentioned in the case that mask will be reused. I mean, mask will be used by every citizen of India, and it will be replaced 7 years. So we structured the case according to that. That's the part for your first answer. And regarding the second question, that so we can, from the best analysis, we concluded that it is a short term, but during the long term, things may change because there are various factors. COVID may end, political parties may change. For example, the Trump, Mr. Trump, who was the president of US earlier, he is not encouraging masks, and the people are also following the same. So it will be difficult to project in a long term. So we concluded that for the short term, the strategy is good.
So that's what. So the case per se, even what I understand is the protectionist or whatever, and at the end they say it will not going to last. The mask, the assumptions that you have made. Secondly, fashion in short term, I don't know whether how you will continue in the long term, whether it will at all continue in the long term. How many you can say stars or subscribers?
Short term, it will be good. Maximum for the up to next to 5 years. So then it depends on evolve accordingly. So that's what I was saying.
Sir, to add on to
that's
this,
all from my side. Yeah.
So there's a small thing I want to add on to this. As per some research work, we have observed that the mask usage has increased despite of the COVID situation, which is this can give a small hint that it will last long in this market.
Okay. Now to my co-panelists.
Okay. So the team Three Musketeers. I have just one broad question. The broad question is that think about all these mask manufacturers, many of the vendors who are supplying masks and so on. One of the things that you talked about in this case, briefly touched upon, I saw there in the slide also, related to the social dimension and stuff like that. There are government policies, and there are objects related to the social dimensions and so on and so forth. So if you were to be, let us say, managing that vendor or manufacturer or mask manufacturer, whatever, if you were to balance out the profit or shareholder capital versus those kind of social objectives, which are not really completely mandatory for you guys to enforce, what would be your philosophy? How do you manage those kind of trade-offs?
Guys, may?
Sure.
Obviously, we'll go for the safety of the people first, because profits matter second. And in the pandemic like this, so we can't go for we have some social responsibility, and we can't go for a profit, obviously. For example, even the vaccination industries who have invested a lot in R&D, they come up with that and given their ideas to others to manufacture. So I think we would choose the side of the society side rather than profit.
Right, but the shareholders would be always after you that, where is the money and how
So,
you're
but
going to
if we see
recover
the
the investment and
I
so on.
mean, there are industries which are longer, but when we see their sustainability practices, the shareholders also value the corporate social responsibility or sustainability practices of the company much more.
How do you know that? I mean, do you have any empiricism there or some sort of a study or something like that? Do you have
For
certain?
example, in case of a brand, Lifebuoy, which is by Unilever, it survives for more than 2 decades. I think it's established in the 19th century. What the core value of the manufacturer, I mean, the inventor of Lifebuoy is that do well by doing good. This product survived for so long, and if the shareholders does not value this product would have been destroyed earlier.
Okay, all right.
One good
So that's it from my side. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you for the presentation, Three Musketeers. And I have only one query with respect to the first slide analysis that you have shown. When you have checked the demand and you have tried establishing that the supply is lesser than the demand and hence there is a clear requirement of further production. Is my understanding right?
Yes, from that supply is from the industrial mass, right? Not from the fabric mass.
Right. Not from the fabric. So why is it that you did not pick the fabric one there? Is it to establish that, other suppliers have to come into picture for this gap to be bridged?
The thing is that the fabric masks which have been into the market are not up to the standards, which we have discussed in the later part of the slide. So the 3 layers.
Yeah.
So it's just a piece of cloth, and so due to the demand, it was suggested that it would be better instead of nothing. So in future, as the demand and the supply gap decreases, people will be concerned more about the mask would be more industrial standards rather than cloth mask. So that's why
and hence, the hypothesis of it being used by the fashion industry that will no more exist.
It will be in accordance fashion industry. They will be preparing in accordance with the guidelines. So it's
with the guidelines or with respect to customer demand?
No, with the guidelines. Both they should tally both, or else it's like both the hands. I mean, both the eyes. We cannot survive without that. So we should leverage the fashion industry. The outer layer, they have to cooperate with the customer demand. So in order for the aesthetic appearance, but for the in order to satisfy the guidelines, it should have at least these 3 layers. So that's what we are saying.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, team, for the wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Should we leave the meeting?
Yeah, you can. Judges, can we take a break for 10 minutes if it's okay with you? Or should we go on with the next presentation?
Let's continue and complete it. If there are no, you can say, urgency on your side.
Yeah.
No.
I think we can continue, sir, because I also have some engagement after 4:15.
So actually, we might have engagement after that. So let's complete it.
Okay, sure, sir. So the next team to present is Blue Collar from DT Mumbai. Team Blue Collar, you can start with your presentations. Team, are you there? Can you confirm?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. You can start with your presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are Team Blue Collar. I am Naveen Jaswal, and my teammates are Abhinav Tiwari and Shubham Singh. So without further ado, let's begin with the presentation. Fashion masks were already prevalent in some areas, poor air quality ratings, as in India. Hence, they may have a future even after pandemic is over. Not only viruses, masks also protect us from pollution and allergy-causing pollens. Still, after all these reasons, we expect the use of masks will decline with time, even though people are somewhat habituated with it. Now, of course, it depends a lot on government rules and regulations, but as we can see, for example, in Delhi, all the curbs will be lifted from next month due to lower number of cases, and this suggests a back to normalcy, which will lead to lower usage of masks. But there still may remain a market for masks. Many people are extending their style portfolio using masks, and designer masks are now paired with many clothing items. Luxury and premium alternatives have also appeared fast with growing appeal to high-income individuals. For example, Burberry offers 7 models priced at around $120. This suggests that people are ready to pay premium prices for masks that offer unique design, comfort, and innovation. Other than that, masks are still expected to remain in public places such as restaurants, movie theaters, etc., and also expected to be used at necessary places such as hospitals for this year. But their usage will probably decline, and according to our guesstimate, it will not cross more than 50 crores masks used per week from next year, considering the situation stabilizes. Now Shubham will discuss about the hype and fashion statement associated with masks.
So yes, there is no doubt that masks are somewhere hyped and as a product and were initially adopted as a short-term decision by different industries, including fashion. So the hype of mask was due to the various perceived and enforced measures by government, such as making the mask mandatory and imposing fine when not wearing it. Also, people have the rapid increase in the perceived health consciousness, which were also further fueled by the entry of fashion players. So now we will see why mask became a fashion statement. So mask from being just a safety and protective equipment to turn into a fashion statement by various things. Like people thought that if they have to wear something regularly, a piece of cloth that sits at the center of their face, then why not make the best of the situation? So as the demand leads to supply, as people started finding innovative way to use these accessories as a fashion equipment, many fashion players started building and making the mask, customizing it according to the needs of customers, such as the various firms like Louis Vuitton, Wildcraft have dedicated their entire substrata of manufacturing unit for only the mask. Also, increase of the many designs like minimal printed with brand logos and many other things also further enhance the use of the style statement for the mask. Also, people started to use mask at various occasions, like the bridal mask designed by Sabyasachi and various other brands, which also offered the mask along with their products when they were going to their showrooms or their shops. So the next question is, will the mask will stay to some extent or it will completely decline? Although at the first people were reluctant to use masks, but with the further increase in COVID-19 cases, people started using masks. But every time they wear a mask, they are hoping for a post-COVID world without a mask. But this is a truth that masks are here to stay. There are three categories of masks: surgical, N95, and cloth. The cloth are one that being the designer one. So mask will stay because not just the COVID-19, masks have various benefits that will outlast and outlive the COVID-19, increasing the use in the seasonal diseases, cold, flus, pathogens, allergies, and in few countries and few places for prevention of air pollution, which have been quietly widely used before the advent of COVID. Also, with the government mandate and increased perceived health consciousness, people have developed a habit of carrying a mask and using it at an appropriate place. So yes, the mask will not completely decline. Also, the government educated people to wear masks through their various mandates, and also it is not 100% protective, neither the seat belt, but the use of the mask can further reduce the risk mitigation.
Even though the sales of a lot of other products increased during the pandemic, such as disinfectants, vitamins, herbal and Ayurvedic products, etc., we believe that this mask helmet could have been and still could be a successful product today. Not only this product is very effective against virus and pollution, but also is made from sustainable materials which appeal to the general audience nowadays. It protects your whole face instead of just mouth and nose, and people may also prefer this over masks since you are able to see the other person's reaction. It will have a zip line below neck, and so it will not hurt your ears like N95 masks. Right now, it may have its challenges, but I think it could be solved and it can have various applications. For example, to tackle fog accumulation, we can have air filters and fans. We can have Bluetooth inside for entertainment and more functionality. We can install speakers for better communication. All of these, if available to the general public at a reasonable price, I believe could be a game changer. And now Abhinav will continue with the role of government policies.
So moving on, we can see that government policies, they play a crucial role when it comes to educating the public about the do's and don'ts in a pandemic, and increasing and subsequently increasing the demand for a product and how it is actually adopted by the general public. So when it comes to the COVID-19 policy, the government followed a 5-point strategy, which included testing, wherein in all the districts, RT-PCR testing was done heavily, up to with a minimum of 70%, and as well as that rapid antigen tests were also done in heavily populated areas and where people assumed that a new cluster was actually forming. Apart from that, tracking was also done via Arogya Setu app and all the various health points where an infected person would come in contact with, so that the transmission could actually be stopped or slowed down. And post that, another strategy was the treatment of it, how we are actually quarantining a person and how they are actually being treated properly. Apart from that, the government also enforced the COVID appropriate behavior, wherein various SOPs were issued and a strict no mask, no service policy was enacted, and people were actually penalized for not wearing masks. And the government also took up policies which would actually incentivize the local mask manufacturing, which would actually help to bridge the growing demand of the masks, as well as allow the manufacturers the opportunity to make the masks more sustainable. Apart from that, we saw when it came to the Delta variant, the double masking policy was also something that was again introduced, and all of these policies were actually coordinated with the state government as well. So not only in languages like Hindi and English, but vernacular languages were also used to educate the general public about the use of masks and sanitizers. And all these things were done because there was always a time-bound plan for a 100% COVID vaccination. And in this way, government influenced the entire mask and sanitizer industry. Now, moving ahead, so social togetherness has played a vital role in establishing the trust and harmony, particularly in such a stressful time, because the normal life of all of us was interrupted in a way that was interrupted in a way that we are not able to go of us, and it also caused a sense of disillusionment when it comes to the jobs and the different kind of suffering that the general public was facing. So in order to alleviate that and to create a sense of unity, the government actually took over various steps, such as where we banked utensils for solidarity, to show solidarity for the various healthcare workers. And the government showered flowers from the IIF helicopter to show as a gesture for the migrant workers. And apart from that, the various mediums such as mass communication and local communication was also done, so that the people actually wear masks, they actually use sanitizers, and something that we are all familiar with, the pre-recorded COVID disclaimer every time we make a phone call. So in this way, social solidarity, social togetherness did come into play. And we see that recent study reveals that a lot of consumers are willing to pay more for sustainability, and hence the incentive for local manufacturers to use sustainable mask products. And as well as there are penalties if you actually go for open dumping, and there are government guidelines as to how to treat this biomedical waste, which was enforced. So that the entire thing is more sustainable and does not adversely impact the environment. Thank you.
Thank you, team. The judges can go on with the Q&A.
Okay. Well, thank you, team Blue Collar. Few queries per se. One of them, let's start with your last one, sustainability. If I see the mask, after you can say it's the use, most of them are disposed. How to make it sustainable from the manufacturer point of view, and what to do after that? Because that is going to be a much bigger issue than, because at least I'm happy that you captured that the mass market is going to decline rather than, you can say, keep it going like that, and import increase for sure. So tell me, what's your take on the sustainability aspect of the mask market? And how to get it done from the manufacturers, that sustainability?
So the issue of sustainability arises mainly from, I would say, surgical masks, because they are harder to, they are disposable masks. They are thrown away after only single use. So, sir, with the decline in use of masks, obviously the use of disposable masks will decline. So if manufacturers will go to manufacture cloth fabric masks, which can be reused, multi-layered cloth fabric masks, which are also more effective, and they can go with the fashion as well. So this will not only improve style portfolio of people, but also it will be more sustainable because it's not disposed after single use.
And
So there are three. There apart from that, there are three categories of masks, like we already shown in our presentation. These are the surgical mask, N95 respirators, and the cloth mask. But with the decrease in the number of COVID-19 cases, the surgical mask use will only remain to the up till the hospitals and the infected areas. But the use of the cloth mask, which will become a fashion statement, are used a lot more. So the only part of the mask that will remain in the mainstream is the cloth mask or the designer ones. So also for the disposal of mask, the government has issued guidelines against the open dumping. Also, the yellow dustbin, which is for the biodegradable waste, are used for the safe disposal of the things that are used in the COVID, like injections for the vaccines and many other things. That will same be applied for the mask.
Fine. You have further said that you can say probably the mask could be categorized into the fashion I can say a fashion product or an innovative product. So if that is the case, how safe it would be? It might be innovative per se, but will the product you can say fulfill its basic functionality in that case? What's your take?
Sir, many manufacturers have already gone into this domain. So they are required to obtain license from government, and like basic safety levels are assured in their products. And like even WHO has stated that cloth fabrics, multi-layered cloth fabrics are safe as long as it depends on the characteristics of threads and everything. But they have declared that with certain level of safety, it's very effective against the virus. So companies can obtain certificates, and then they can make this product. So it's very safe.
Also, sir, the data on the efficacy of mask is still not proven, and the government is educating about the mask. For that reason, it act as a barrier for the first flow of the virus pathogens. It is not 100% protective, as we all know that it is. But the first thing that the moving of the virus pathogens is stopped at its first source level. So it will be a better thing to control the overall spread of the virus.
So over to my co-panelist. Thank you.
Professor Mohit, do you want to go?
Yeah. All right. So you guys have been talking about sustainability and this and that, and when we talk about the triple bottom line view of the sustainability, typically we talk about the lowest pedestal starting from economic, etc., etc. Although economic is it is one of the first pedestal of the sustainability, but it is one of the hardest to address as well. So in this case, is there some way your approach is mapped to the economic side of sustainability, and in what ways do you foresee this?
Sir, I would like to take this question. Sir, we see that the company Levi, what they did was that they actually started using the fabric from the jeans that they were getting. They were recycling the jeans, and then they were using it to manufacture it. So like we've already stated with the the different categories of masks. So we believe that in the future the cloth mask will be something that will definitely stay. The market size may depend, but it will definitely stay. So any sort of recycling and reusability that can happen here, so that will actually enable this transformation. So this is just the first part, but I believe in this way we can start covering the first bottom line.
Also, for the financial part, sir, in the survey conducted by McKinsey, it has been proven that people are willing to pay even more for this mask, which for the company which offers sustainability in their product.
All right, that's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Team Blue Collar, for the presentation. I have a query with respect to the new product you have mentioned. So basis all the case studies that we saw till now, they were kind of picking up on the already existing products in the market. What you have done is you have converted a mask into a helmet kind of structure. Now, my question to you is, and let's say, for example, helmet is the product which I could closely relate to, which has a strong government backing. People are well aware of the accidents that can happen if people do not use the helmet. So my question to you right now is, what from supply chain, let me put it this way, from supply, demand, or government policy, or the industry? So the mask is right now, let's say, with pharma industry, and helmet is not part of pharma industry. What exactly is not working in favor of helmet becoming as popular as mask?
Ma'am, so
yeah, go ahead.
go ahead. Okay, ma'am. So, like, first of all, I'd like to highlight the fact that the industry issue, right? So now masks were generally associated with the pharma industry, and helmet is not part of it. The key reason that did not work for helmet is that the entire manufacturing cost, when the COVID actually came, there was a very deep change in the consumer psychology, and a huge demand arose in a very short period of time. So from a manufacturer's perspective, you cannot produce that many helmets in the first place. And the second, the existing whatever the stock would have been, the supply chain, it is not diverse enough to cater to the large population. And in this way, mask I believe were the upper hand.
May I please stop you there so that we can little elaborate on that? Okay, you explained that based on the manufacturing, helmets cannot be produced. Now, if you're picking the supply side, are you saying that although there is a demand, but we are unable to cater, but mask came up with a demand and we were able to cater, and hence mask became a category or a product peaker than what helmet is? It's to do with supply?
And there were many incentives for the local production of mask. So mask was easily available in the every nearby shops, or every, we can say, pharma stores. So the local production of mask was the key factor which helped the mask to grow manifold rather than being a mask, helmet, or a air purifier.
So you're saying understood. So if you're saying the manufacturing capabilities or the production, then we'll be able to make helmet that product which everyone will look up to buying, at least the people who drive the vehicles.
Yes, ma'am, it surely can be.
So it's the manufacturing concern right now, supply constraint.
Ma'am, when the COVID hit, there was a massive disruption in the every industry. So apart from the things, the core industries, every industry started to look towards the how they can curb the COVID cases. Like Reliance transformed their oil refinery into a oxygen manufacturing plant, and every industry started to reshape. So the basic the government started giving guidelines about the mask. So every company was going towards the mask. So how to make it sustainable. So the R&D part for the mask helmet was not left behind in the process. But now in the as the COVID cases are rising, are declining, we can further see that the increased R&D in the mask helmet, like increasing its viability and enhancing its supply chain, can make this product a good product for the future.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, team, for the presentation. So the next team that will be presenting is Thinkers from GLIM, Gurgaon. Team, are you here? Team Thinkers.
Thinkers.
You can start with your presentation if you're ready.
Can I start with the presentation?
Yes.
Good morning, everyone. Today, I'm Mani Charan. Along with my teammates Manasvi More and Mridab Goyal from Team Thinkers, are here to present the case on unmasking the art of masking. The case talks about the COVID-19 pandemic that shut down many businesses. Each industry has its own battle to fight with restrictions imposed on production and movement of goods. But there were two products that stood out the test of time and emerged as the new heroes, and they were first sanitizers and second masks. And the case starts by asking us the future of mask as a product category. Starting with some data about masks. Indian mask market was valued around 66 million in financial year 2020 and is expected to grow at a rate of 10.3% and will reach the market share of 157 billion by 2027 on account of rising health awareness, increasing pollution, and growing carbon dioxide emission. We have divided the mask market into three categories, that is pharmaceutical, fashion, and technology. As a product category, the fluid and basic surgical masks dominate the overall surgical mask market. India has a production capacity of 1.5 billion, 3-layer masks, and after accounting for domestic demand, the surplus capacity is around 500 million. Now coming to the fashion industry is trying to classify the mask market into different categories, like detachable masks, formal masks, neck warmers. Companies like Gucci is one of the many brands that has realized the importance of face masks. Nowadays, we are also seeing brands coming up with smart masks like Bluetooth masks, air purifier masks, etc. Although the awareness about smart masks is comparatively low in India, but we can expect a growth in this category in the near future. Now coming to the costing of masks in India, reusable masks are comparatively cost efficient. Now I'd like to hand over it to Manasvi to explain the next slide.
Thank you, Imani. So our next part of the slide is about is fashion mask hyped or not? Yes, it was hyped. It was adopted as a short-term decision, but what began as a medical necessity is slowly turning into a new accessory. There are many fashion brands such as Gucci, Tijori, La Ligne, which have already started making fashion statements. But companies like IIM Co, which are solely a mask producing company, will define the future of mask. During COVID, there was a major decline in the various industries like apparel industry, but the textile industry, which was producing masks, had an opportunity to come forward and increase their higher profit margin. The apparel industry was down by 40%, which gave a boost to the industry. We have also seen that there was a change in the consumer behavior. As in the given case study, we have seen that the mother and daughter combo were looking for online masks, but they had one thing in mind, that selected garments should have designer matching masks. So there was a change in consumer behavior. According to the study by Haynes, it was found that 27% of people will prefer looks and fabric in the mask, which automatically is termed as making a mask as a fashion statement. And lastly, I would like to say that not just masks protect us from disinfectants, it also protects us from air pollution, especially in the metropolitan cities. Also, there are many people who have allergies issues, so it also protects against those allergies which are caused by pollen. So on the next slide of the PPT, there's market size of fashion masks. So India stands at the 4th position by market size. And handing over to my next teammate, Mridhav, he will explain about the sustainable product. Thank you.
Thank you, Manasvi. Plastic pollution was already a major threat to our world before the coronavirus outbreak. The sudden boom in the daily use of certain products is a story. Also, increase in the online delivery, where we see that the packaging is also a reason for the increasing plastic pollution. According to a report, the increase in biomedical waste has increased by 17%, which includes masks, PPE kits, and sanitizer bottles as well. This could have been avoided if we would have come across this UV sterilizer category of a product instead of the mask and the sanitizers. Disposable masks and sanitizers would still have been there to protect our skins, as UV light can be brought in direct contact with the skin, but dependency on them would have decreased much earlier as people have shifted to cloth masks as discussed earlier. According to a researcher at Boston University, found that signifies that UVC lights can kill up to 99% of the virus within seconds. Now we have introduced two products where the first product is a UV sterilizer wand and the second is a UV sterilizer box. In order to see how these products work, we would like to proceed with a short video. So as you can see that we know that the coronavirus is highly contagious and it can stay on any product or any surface for a longer period of time. So this wand, which is very handy and it can be fit in a pocket itself, we can use it on any surface. What we need to do is that we need to hover the wand 3 to 4 inches above any product or any surface, and then it can be used to kill the virus. Similarly, a UV sterilizer box where we can keep our mobile phones, keys, cell phone, PPE kits, masks, anything, and any other accessory. This UV box is compatible and it can be used for any fabric. Then what we can do is that we can use any product and keep it in the box for a certain period of time, and then after the time is complete, it comes out fully sterilized and virus free. Now we move on to the next slide.
Thank you, Nidaf. So, the last part of the case was what role does government in the social togetherness play? So, it is said that sustainability concerns the global long-term impact of our practices, relationships, and institutions because we live in a connected world. The role of government towards making a product sustainable can be divided into 4 parts, which is allocative one, which means that government should maximize efficiency and take care of the service delivery. Second comes the distributive one, which means there should be equal distribution to all sections of the society. Then comes the regulatory one, which where the policy making laws and the enforcement of law should be taken care of. And the last one is the stabilization, which means that various economic, monetary and social policies should be taken care of, and the inflation and unemployment should be controlled. And also it is generally said that governments act as a catalyst for change. They should champion and set the pace for transformation, establish some statutory frameworks to protect the environment, and make resources available. Government are also responsible for economic prosperity, the general welfare of the population, and overall socio-economic development. So government need to create open, competitive and highly framed markets that would include the pricing and also provide subsidies to make their product more sustainable and successful. Moving towards social togetherness, which means that they do help in making a sustainable community, which also includes NGO. NGO do play an important role as partners in business in promoting sustainable consumption. They rank the products and services based on the environmental impact and performance. First of all, they would encourage them to purchase eco-smart behavior pattern, which means that they actively promote more eco-smart consumption and lifestyle by encouraging consumers to make it easier for them to choose the best alternatives from an environmental perspective. Second comes positive developments in the sharing economy. Sharing economically basically involves sharing goods and services in various ways, and that provide increased freedom of choice and hence would and cater to the supply and demand factor, which would lower prices. And third comes the more effective eco-labeling. For eco-labeling to have a strong impact, in addition to gaining more consumer confidence, it is essential that it keeps up to date with the developments on the market. So at last, I would like to say that the participation of consumers is also mandatory, as it is paramount to create a more sustainable and inclusive development. Also during COVID 2020, when government announced a lockdown, we all came forward as a one unity, where government introduced various activities, starting with banging of utensils and those. So these all factors should be taken care of, and yes, to come through this pandemic, there should be some togetherness overall. So with this, I would like to end our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, team. Judges, you can go ahead with the Q&A.
Very fine. Team thinkers, thank you for the presentation. What I found is most of your analysis is about during COVID. What about post-COVID? What will happen? How this whole, you have made categorization to fashion, technology, and likewise, how it is going to change? And when it comes to a country like India, when it is warmer, who will really on its own by its own, you can say, self-drive will wear something and venture out? Tell me. So yeah, please go ahead.
I would like to take over this question. So earlier, there were very many factors like health factors where people were actually buying masks, but they were not producing at a very large scale. But due to COVID, a lot of people start buying the mask. Now, the thing is that what you're saying is very short term. Maybe after some years, you will not need a mask for COVID, right? But um, but because of the many health factors, uh, oxygen level in, if you know about Delhi, oxygen level is above 400 in Delhi. So everyone requires mask, and also government tell people to do the same. So maybe because of this reason, in the long term, mask can be a helpful factor.
Also, sir, adding to this point where you were talking about the temperature, as we seen that the masks are entering the fashion industry, people are these industries also taking care of temperature specific regions. For example, they are producing cloth masks of different fabrics so that people can wear according to the temperature. For example, in winter season, people would like to wear something which protects the face from the cold winds. And for in summer season, the mask would be made up of silk or some other cotton material to save them from the scorching heat.
Okay. Regarding your the proposition of the that UV light sanitizer when my take is that this is a solution that you are proposing for the problem to be, you can say, really coming forth, and then you will fit that particular solution. What is your take on this? Why will a consumer buy it, and what was the reaction of the consumer? Because most of the time this is a proposal. You made a proposal, but whether it is feasible on many terms that have, and whether it is desirable, my take is desirability. So yes, viability also, I have my own, you can say, doubt on the viability, but whether it would be desirable at all.
So my main concern was that in the earlier stages when the virus was there, people were not fully aware of how to deal with it. If this product would have come earlier and people would have been made aware on how to use it, then they might have depended less on the mask and the sanitizer, which is causing the pollution now. And the main concern for me was the viability and the affordability as well. But then if this product would have entered the market earlier and the government would have supported this by providing subsidies and other things, then today we would have seen that this UV sterilizer would have been available in much cheaper rates, and people would have understood on how to use it, because they would have understood that the virus can be cleaned up from the skin by taking a bath or using the sanitizer. But what about the materialistic things on which the virus can stay for a longer period of time?
Okay, well, fine. You can think over that. My take is you are providing a solution for the waiting for the problem to arise. So that's how I'll put it. So thank you. I'm done from my side. My co-panelists can take it. Thank you.
All right. So team thinkers, I have just one question related to the post-COVID type of a situation. You have all this mask and this and that, etc., etc. What do you deal with all of these? You have huge amount of masks used, unused, produced, lying as an inventory at retailer, at manufacturer, dealer, etc., etc. And suddenly, let us say just hypothetically, by December 2022, COVID has evaporated. Essentially, it is not there anymore. Or even if it is there, it is just in a minor nature. It does not have much significant impact. So what do you do with all this inventory and this and that at each of the stages of the supply chain? So any thought?
Sorry, sir. Commenting on this one, I would say that for this, we need to make use of another problem. So when there's a problem, people look for solutions and then buy things. So when this pandemic is over, then the dealers and the manufacturers which have these products lying, there they need to create another problem. They need to show people that there's this problem here, and the solution for this is the mask again. For example, the pollution, the increase in the level
Okay.
of the pollution, like that.
All right. So that's it from my side. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, team thinkers. I don't have any questions. You can move on. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you all.
Thank you, Team Thinkers, for the wonderful presentation. We have the last team for today to present, and it's Team Pratikya from IIFT Delhi.
Is it IIFT Delhi, you said?
Yes, Pratikya from IIFT Delhi. Team, you can start with your presentation whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon, everyone. Others, am I audible? Can you confirm?
Yes,
yeah.
you are.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, that's audible.
Yeah, sure.
Avinash has joined. Yeah,
Yeah.
Avinash. Sure. I'm just sharing my screen. Just please confirm me.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's visible, Ritesh.
Okay, I'm making the full screen mode. Sure, others.
Okay, so we will start. Good evening, everyone. We are Team Pratikya from IIFT Delhi. I am Adarsh Kumar Singh, and along with me, I have Ritesh Kumar and Avinash Vash. feel that they have been extensively engaged with the government usage among the masses. So the importance of social togetherness cannot be removed. This particular theory helps in making this particular theory helps in bringing communities closer. Related to the government policies is concerned, we can find that currently. Yeah, Vinash, you are audible.
Sure. I'll take this up. Sorry for the glitch. Okay, yeah. So Adarsh has already started about how the government as an agency and the society as a whole really makes the product successful as well as sustainable. There was this global survey that was conducted by McKinsey. In fact, as well as the consumerism is concerned, or the success of a product or a failure of a product is concerned. Apart from the aspect of the government, let's try to understand how society really influences in the sale of the goods. So social commerce is one example. In fact, there was a study that was conducted. In that study, it was found that the social cohesion, which actually improves the purchase of goods by the period of COVID-19 itself, there was on an average 68% rise in
Q&A.
Okay. Well, thank you, Team Pratikya, for the presentation. One or two observations and then query. Especially the way you can say segmented the various markets, that was good. But when you propose the hand gloves, what after post-COVID, what is your take there? Because this is with the assumption that the markets will hold and it will keep on rising like that. But it is not going to be the same scenario post-COVID.
Okay, so basically, hand gloves was something that could have, had taken a serious hit during the times of COVID. It should have actually succeeded in during these times, but it couldn't because it was not necessarily promoted by the government. The health authorities didn't say that to wear gloves could be one of the things that was mandated by the government. What will happen in the future is, see, this is we currently there's something that was not really predicted as far as the infectious diseases is concerned. So going forward, we are looking at a new set of diseases coming up, and touch is something that is becoming one of the major means of transfer of disease or a transmission of disease from one party to another. I think going forward, there is a sense of understanding that is developing among the consumers is that we really have to be sure that we don't really touch infected objects. And going forward, it's not just a normal medical category. I think going forward, it will not only become like a fashion. Of course, I mean, in fact, if I can really quote one of the traditional form of in English culture, gloves were very much part of the etiquettes. So gloves can no longer stay as a medical product. I'm sure it can evolve into general fashion products. And of course, given the risk of transmission of new diseases, I think it will be able to maintain a reasonable level of scales going forward.
So if that is the case, then with gloves, whom are you catering? Are you catering to the, you can say, the people at the bottom line of the pyramid, or are you just emphasizing? Because if it is a fashion product, you are just targeting that particular segment and that's all. So the kind of the CAGRs and those would not be so great. Yes, profit margins could be. Yeah, it's good. What's your take there?
Yeah, sure. So it's very similar to that of masks. Actually, masks were not originally conceived to be a part of the fashion. So masks were usually supposed to prevent people from contracting or taking in the COVID virus. But it's soon, because it was mandated by the government and it was actually advocated by the health authorities to start using it. So the companies decided, why not to make it a part of your fashion wear? I mean, why not make it a part of your clothes? So as far as, and again, then gloves as such may not always be extremely expensive category. It's not a very expensive category. I mean, if we start creating gloves out of less expensive raw material, so it will be something that will be used not just by the upper middle class or the class that can really afford the stylish, fashionable gloves, but also it can be something by the lower middle income people, which can actually start using it and making it a habit of basically protecting themselves from contracting diseases and making a part of your regular fashion.
Okay, fine. Thank you. That's all from my side. Now the co-panelist can take.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So in context of the, you have made a mention of social commerce, for example. So in context of the social commerce, do you see any value of social commerce here, or manufacturers or such retailers would be happy with the electronic commerce, e-commerce only? Do we have to really bother about the social commerce here?
Actually, that is an interesting question. Social commerce is something, it's like a new avenue of of growth. Now, what advantages social commerce offers is that the person who is actually the consumer need not drop off from the social media on which he's actually there, the platform in which he already spends majority of his time. He need not really drop off and go on to Flipkart or Amazon, or for that matter, individual D2C websites. So all he can do is stay on that same website, so Twitter, Instagram, WhatsApp, and Telegram, and all these sort of the platforms which are actually used for the purpose of communication. He can stay on that and also make purchases. So going forward, see, the whole point is that consumers are now ready to purchase. There is a very huge rise in consumption, and digital is one of the very strong medium in which the consumption is taking place, even though still brick and mortar is the majority in the majority pie, but still digital is one of the rising ways in which the people are actually spending their money. E-commerce definitely will have a greater involvement as far as the purchase is concerned, but social commerce, given there is a very huge amount of time that people spend on these platforms, I think will have an important say. And of course, the numbers really indicate that how across the world, 68% have actually, there was a rise in the overall purchase through social commerce. And of course, social commerce happens via the communication medium. So social togetherness, social cohesion really plays a very important part in that.
Okay, all right. So thank you very much. I do not have any further question.
Thank you, Team Pratikya. I have just one query on the 8.2% CAGR that you have tried arriving at for the market size of gloves. Does that stand true for the mask as well, or is there any different perception for mask as well as gloves?
Adarsh, can you take this up?
Yes, ma'am. So for the mask part also, we have shown the current market size. So that is also healthy. That was there in the first slide itself. And as far as the gloves part is concerned, so that CAGR that we are showcasing over here, that we have done some secondary research, and that we have particularly collated that figure from the Statista side. So that is for the hand glove segment, and for the mask segment, we have shown the current market size, which is also healthy across the countries, across different geographies as well.
Yes, I've seen that. So first slide tells you the analysis across various geographies about the mask is what you have given. However, for gloves, you have kind of given us some number saying 8.2%. So what I am interested in that both mask and gloves put together, do you think 8.2% is some trajectory we're thinking about, or gloves would supersede as the better product than mask? What is your viewpoint there?
Yes, ma'am. So the projection that we have shown, that depends on how the current government or the government is mandating about its usage. Of course, we have shown how this particular thing can be propagated among both the urban and the rural customers. So yes, if these particular things are taken into consideration, and if the government mandate is made much more strongly, of course, we are going to witness a decent CAGR of 8.2% in the forecasted period. That would be primarily led by the North American continent, but yes, every other continent will be following it soon. So it all depends how the government is mandating its usage and how its acceptability is getting traction by the consumers.
Just a point to add here is that since currently the masks really have a bigger market, and of course it is mandated by the government. I mean, very recently Delhi has, even though now made it not mandatory to wear it in a car, but the thing is that currently, because of very strong government regulations, masks really have a sustainable sale, and it will continue to have a greater sale than gloves. But the idea was to understand that gloves could have been a very interesting category that could have come up during COVID-19 pandemic. Something that because of certain reasons it couldn't really come, and that is something that we had tried to highlight. Definitely, masks would really have continued to have a greater growth rate as well as the overall market share than the gloves.
Okay, I would just want to understand, you mentioned something about North America gloves. Is the analysis not done on India piece right now, what you have shown in the slide for the gloves?
Ma'am, I mentioned that this would be primarily led by the North American continent, and that will be closely followed by the Asia Pacific.
Understood. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Team Pratikya, for the presentation. The finale will resume in some time for the result declaration, so please stay tuned. Also, judges, if you would require, we can create a breakout room for you to decide the results. Will that be okay?
I think that would work great.
That would really help. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Someone from the IT team, can you create the breakout room? The teams can drop off now. We'll get back to you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Fine.
Okay.
What's up?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Professor Mohit and Pariksha. I will just announce the winners in the order of 3, 2, 1.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, all right. So first, let me know, Jerusha, when I can announce.
Yeah.
I'm asking the teams to join back. So
Yes,
just
can
give
you
us
give
2-3 minutes.
Yeah, so let all the team joins, I think.
Yes, sir.
The most profitable companies in the world have learned to use their supply chains to keep goods and services flowing into the marketplace. But supply chain processes are only as good as the people who keep them running. Supply chain employment opportunities are constantly being created, and ISCEA certified professionals are getting the best paid jobs. If you wish to become a sound supply chain professional and gain real-world experience and knowledge, then ISCEA is your one-stop source for supply chain education, certification, and recognition. ISCEA is the International Supply Chain Education Alliance. We were the first organization certifying supply chain professionals around the globe, and we remain the worldwide authoritative resource for supply chain career validation, with thousands of certificate holders commanding top-tier salaries. Our certification programs are aligned with best practices and industry-proven standards. They bring together academic research advances and innovative industry trends, validating that you have the knowledge used by top companies to remain competitive in an ever-changing business environment. For your company, that translates into significant cost reductions, faster revenue growth, and a collaborative teamwork environment. For your career, it means exceeding everyone's expectations and taking control of your future. So, what are you waiting for? Stand out from the crowd and take your career to the next level with an ISCEA internationally recognized supply chain certification.
Welcome back, teams. We have now reached the most awaited part of the grand finale. All the teams have put in their exemplary efforts just for this moment to win the coveted title. So, I now request the judges to announce the results of Ops-Cogitate 2022. Over to you, judges.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Pariksha and Mohit, for giving the opportunity to announce the results. All 7 presentations were phenomenal. Congratulations to all of you for making this far and letting us know your views. All 3 of us evaluated you on basis of 4 pillars: approach of understanding the case study, your feasibility of solutions, your presentation skills, and the analytics and tools that you all have used. Based on these, we have arrived at the 3 winners of today's case study competition. Starting from the second runner-up, the third in the sequence. The team that is third today is Pratikya from Iift Delhi. Congratulations to the team. The first runner-up, the second today is team Vikram from IIM Raipur. Congratulations to all the winners. And I would invite Professor Pariksha and Mohit to announce the winner today, winning team.
Well, it could be okay. Mohit sir,
Pariksha sir, please go ahead. Yeah, please go ahead, sir.
Well, can say the team blue collar was the first. Thank you, thank you. So great.
Thank you.
So I hope our job is done.
Yes, sir. Congratulations to all the winning teams. I hope all your efforts have paid off well. Also, I would like to congratulate the rest of the teams for putting in their best efforts to make it to the grand finale. Thank you, teams. Before we end the grand finale, I would also like to like the judges and the winning teams to give their feedbacks about the competition. So it will be great if you can give your feedbacks and reviews. Over to the judges first.
Do you want it now?
Yes, sir. It would be great if you can.
Okay. Well, fine. It was interesting, but I hope that if you can give the case studies slightly beforehand, because it was too you can say a read for at least me. So if you can send it slightly 2-3 days back, so that would have been good. Otherwise, it was fine. Probably I want the case studies to be more contemporary. I had my own doubts on some of the way it went, but that's my personal view. So that could have been made more you can say appropriate on some of the aspects which it was. I found it was missing there. So apart from that, good. All of you tried very hard. So that's the good part of the whole exercise. So that's all from my side, and thank you for the invitation. Although it was last minute, so I don't like it. Please go ahead slightly beforehand. Sometimes it becomes very hard to, you can say, tangle things nowadays. So that's all. Thank you. Thank you for the great, you can say, organizing. So thank you for the hard work that I can very well put in there. And probably you can give a go ahead slightly beforehand. That would make life more easier for us. We have a lot of things lined up. Probably you also have them. So thank you. Thank you very much.
All right.
That's all.
So first of all, let me congratulate the team from OPEP team IIM Raipur for getting these things done. You are all operations folks. You know how much of a coordination, collaboration, real-time type of decision making, and those kind of things are required. The general feedback that I want to give is for generally the teams, including the students here at IIM Raipur. I know all of you, all the teams across the business school normally go around and participate in lots of case competition and this and that. Generally, from a judge's point of view, irrespective whether there is this parameter or that parameter, there is some sort of a philosophy you can possibly follow, some sort of a broad template you can always follow. There are 4 or 5 criteria you should always keep in mind. One is how strongly you are pitching in your problem statement, or the relevance associated, etc., are going to be fundamentally seen. Second part is the methodology and the kind of robustness and fidelity of the methodology that would be typically seen. Third part is the novelty of findings and to what level the findings are able to explain the realism and those kind of things. And the last part is written as well as verbal communication. So pretty much along these buckets, irrespective of whatever parameters you get, pretty much along these buckets, by and large, you will be evaluated and you will be judged. So something of this nature you can consider, and something of this template you can always try to consider. All right, so that is simple feedback from my side.
Thank you, sir. Swarna ma'am, if you can.
Yeah, I have only one feedback, that for any case study that you receive, at least I think the first and foremost would be to not really rely on everything and try and see that could there have been further analysis or further question coming in. So in this particular case, the case study itself is giving some examples saying what would be the market size. Now, are you really questioning that, that hypothesis itself is not right, and then taking it to a direction that you have done through your analysis? Try and replicate that in all the case studies to see if there could be another way to look at it rather than what has been really shown as questions in the case study. That will broaden your horizon. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Also, if there are the participants of the winning teams, If they are present here, you can also give your feedback about the competition. Team blue collar, if you're there.
So OPEP team, can we leave? I think I have to run here after
okay,
this
sir.
point, and I think we'll have to leave. All right.
Okay, then we'll move on to the vote of thanks directly, and then we'll get the feedbacks from the teams.
Yeah.
Suresh, if you can give the vote of thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Jarisha. A very good evening to everyone present here. As we reach the end of the final virtual presentation round of Ops-Cogitate 22 in association with ISCEA, it gives me immense pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks to our esteemed judges, Ms. Swarna Murthy-Man, Professor Mohit Goswami sir, and Professor Parshit Charan sir, for their presence and share their immense knowledge and experience with us. I would also like to thank ISCEA for being the knowledge partner and extending every support needed. I would also extend the vote of thanks to every team for putting an excellent effort in making the event a successful one. Once again, I thank one and all present here for attending this event and making it a great success. Thank you.
Thank you, Suresh. Also, as a token of our appreciation, we would be sending the mementos to all the judges.
All right. See you guys. Take care.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. The teams, blue collar, Vikram and Pratikya, if you can give us your feedback about how the case study was and how you guys felt, it would be nice. Team blue collar, are you there?
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Hello. So yeah, like actually me, Shubham and Naveen, like we compete in like a lot of case competitions, like you know how it is. I guess a lot of people here will relate. Like you keep on registering and then okay, like this is one case, and then you like you go one by one like that. So like one thing that we found that this case was like very open-ended, and I believe that we actually like it required from our side a lot of creative thinking, like brainstorming of ideas rather than the hard-coded research or something that we like the approach we generally did. Like this was like you know, there were 3-hour-long conversation sessions only, like okay, will this idea work or will this idea not work? Is this good or is this not good? So like everything was at the top of my head. So hence it was a unique experience. And I would like to say that kudos to the IIM Raipur team. Like it was a phenomenal experience. Like everything was smooth and highly coordinated. So that's it from my side.
Thank you, team. Thank you for the feedback. And now the first runner-ups, Team Vikram. Would you like to give some feedback?
Yes, Jarisha. Yeah, first of all, thank you very much for this opportunity. It was a very nice case study, I would say, because it was my first time participating till the end. And this case was a bit different. Like it was very generalized, we would say. Like it didn't have any particular problem statement, and it revolved around the situation which we are actually going through and what we are facing and what will be the reality in the future. So I found it really interesting, and yeah, it was a bit of brainstorming required because it was very generalized, and we had to have opinions from various sources, and feedbacks were required for this, and it was nice working for this case. Thank you very much, team.
Thank you, Harshini. Now the second runner-ups, Team Pratikya.
Yeah, I'll just mention 2 points here. One is the conduct of this whole competition. I really want to say that this was something very smoothly conducted, because ours was the last one we had to give the presentation, and fortunately it was not too much delay. So that is something that I really must congratulate you. And the second point is with respect to the case. I think it was really an interesting case. Apart from what the other teams have already mentioned, I think there's one point is that the third question, which was about what could have been the other product category that would have been successful in, apart from your sanitizers and masks. That was a very interesting question that really required a lot of brainstorming. So again, well done for giving that sort of question. It really helped us really, put a stress on our brains and find out what exactly could be the answer to that question. So thank you for having us and carrying out this competition.
Thank you, Avinash, for the feedbacks. So with that, we come to the end of our event today. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.